There is an incredible divide going on in the New South Wales state government that could also have huge ramifications nationally. This is a big split, a yawning chasm on climate policy, the same climate policies that have torn the Liberals and Nationals apart in Canberra for a decade or more. At the moment, you have Liberals and Nationals, the Environment Minister and the Deputy Premier, no less, who sit in the very same cabinet, openly divided on climate policy. This cannot stand, surely. Either the policy has to change, or the personnel has to change, or the coalition government will be in a lot of strife. This split is so stark, it's hard to believe. Here's the Environment Minister Matt Kean just 2 months ago.
We're absolutely committed to hitting zero net emissions by 2050. In fact, we were one of the first governments anywhere in the world to commit to that.
That is very clear. The New South Wales government is absolutely committed to reaching zero net emissions by 2050. That's their policy, according to the minister. But here is what the Nationals Leader and Deputy Premier John Barilaro told me on this program yesterday about that target.
When he talks about net zero emission targets by 2050, that would mean the end of agriculture. What does that do to regional and rural communities? That is the end of mining.
That's the sort of disagreement you'd expect between major parties at an election, not between ministers in the same government. So let's double-check the policy. Here's the document, freely available on the Environment Department website, and it uses an unusual phrase, a very bureaucratic and nondescript phrase that says the government has an aspirational objective to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. And by the way, that policy has been in place and publicly displayed since late 2016, more than 3 years ago, and of course over an election, which of course makes you wonder why two ministers could be in such open conflict. The language provides an out.
Absolutely, because it's an aspirational target, and I think people forget to mention that, an aspirational target. But where's the plan? Where's the plan to achieve net zero emissions without destroying the economy?
How indeed? That is the killer question. But if he's the Deputy Premier and he doesn't know, what's the government's plan? Neither Environment Minister Kean nor the Premier Gladys Berejiklian would talk to us about this schism today, but Mr Kean did give us a statement saying, reducing our emissions does not mean the end for agriculture and mining, which are both very important industries for Australia. It doesn't have to come at an economic cost to agriculture, mining or other parts of the economy. And he said quite the opposite. There will be enormous opportunities in those industries, and particularly in a low-carbon world for Australian farmers. He went on to say that to build the electric vehicles, renewables and other equipment it needs to decarbonise, the world is going to need our minerals. All very easy, you see, all very reassuring, but no details at all about how this is going to happen. Some Nationals want Matt Kean shifted from the environment portfolio. He does seem to have turned an aspirational objective into a hard commitment with huge economic implications. And if he can't convince his own cabinet colleagues about the merits of his argument, he'll have no hope of swaying voters. But this split is bigger than all that. It's about the major argument within Australian politics at the moment, and particularly within the coalition nationally. It's the contest that has practical policy and economic reality running hard up against electoral grandstanding and climate virtue signalling. John Barilaro, common sense and practical policy must win this argument, or the political pain for the coalition and the economic cost for the nation will be huge.